Welcome to the Here's My Story channel. I'm Daniel. Ever since I was little, I've always loved helping people. Once, when I was in primary school, I saw an old lady lying on the sidewalk and shivering. I took off my coat and laid it over her. When I came home, my mom was shocked to see me without my coat because it was snowing outside. After I explained why, she hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you." My dad had the complete opposite reaction.
"This can't be my son," he roared. "You're letting people use you. If you keep acting so naive, people will walk all over you."
Years passed. I didn't change. Touching people's lives in some way always made me feel good. My dad owns a big hotel. I didn't see him much, but that was kind of a relief most of the time. That was until my life was suddenly upended. I lost my mom, and now my dad had to take care of me. Like always, he'd give me a hard time whenever I'd reach out to help someone in need. One day, a friend from school asked me, "The kitchen at the homeless shelter needs volunteers. You free to help?" I was happy to help, so my friend and I went to the shelter after school. One of the staff pointed to a massive pile of potatoes. "Let's get to it," I said with a smile. Hours passed, but we worked diligently, knowing that our work was for a good cause. I was so tired, but I had the best sleep ever. My friend couldn't make it the next day, so I went to the shelter by myself. This time, I chopped carrots for hours. At dinner, I took my place behind the counter, serving hot bowls of beef stew brimming with carrots. I made a lot of friends there that day. A guy in his mid-40s named Tyler gave me a big smile as he placed a bowl on his tray.
"Nothing feeds the soul like a hot meal," he said.
Afterward, I volunteered to wash dishes, so it was super late when I got home. My dad was impatiently waiting for me.
"Why do you smell like beef? Where have you been?" he asked.
The stew gave me away, so I couldn't lie to him. When he found out that I volunteered at a shelter for the homeless, his annoyance turned into seething anger.
"Just like your mother," he growled. "How can you be so naive? From now on, you're coming to the hotel every day straight from school. Am I understood?"
Yes, sir, I stuttered in reply. My dad's hotel is one of the best luxury hotels in the city. The hotel has wealthy patrons, so the room prices are high. He put me to work as a bellhop, carrying the guests' luggage up to their rooms. My work ethic must have made an impression because the tips I was getting were jaw-dropping. Suddenly, I had an idea. If I couldn't give my time to the shelter, I could at least donate my tips. While my dad was away on a business trip, I visited the shelter one weekend. I entered the management office with an envelope full of the tips I'd been collecting at the hotel. The lady behind the desk handed me the sign-up sheet. She opened the envelope, practically leaping out of her chair when she saw the money inside. I joined the rest of the volunteers in the kitchen and noticed Tyler chopping onions. Homeless people often volunteer to keep the kitchen running and the facilities clean. When we were done, Tyler wiped his eyes and said,
"Come on, let me buy you a cup of coffee."
We took a bus to a local coffee shop downtown, sat down on a bench, and started talking. As it turns out, Tyler had a job and was working hard to get back on his feet. "How did you end up homeless when you have a job, if you don't mind me asking?" I said.
"I'd saved up for 8 years working as the general manager at a fancy hotel. My older brother was an accountant, good with numbers, so we decided to quit our jobs and start a business together. We renovated an old building with the help of some contractor buddies and opened the best hotel in the city. Things were tough at first. Like most new businesses, we were operating at a loss, and we needed cash flow. I took a loan out against my condo in the city, but that still wasn't enough. So I sold the place to pay back the loan and started living in one of the hotel rooms. Months passed, and my brother said we still had to reduce expenses and bring on some investors to stay afloat, so he gave me the paperwork. I was stressed. I figured he knew how to handle the money side, so I signed. Didn't even read any of it. Turns out I had signed away my share of the business to him. Next morning, everything I had left was on the curb. I'll never forget what he said to me. "This is your problem. Get your things together and get out." Noah didn't even have the decency to put up for storage, or even a cab for that matter.
"Your brother's a hotel owner named Noah?" I asked, bewildered. He was surprised as well.
"Yeah, you know him?"
he replied. "He's my dad," I said. We both sat silently for a moment until Tyler stood up and gave me a hug. Turns out he was my uncle. I was so sad for him. I couldn't believe my dad did this to his own brother. After so many years, I found out I had an uncle. We chatted for hours. Meanwhile, a car stopped by the curb. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw who the driver was. It was one of YouTube's biggest creators, Mr. Beast. Hold this, he said, throwing us the bag he was holding. I caught it in the air. He smiled and said, I bought $10,000 of scratch-off tickets and put them in that bag. We did a video with scratch-off tickets today. Those are what's left from the shoot. I was dumbfounded. Don't worry, I'm not filming, Mr. Beast said. I saw you guys while I was waiting at the red light. I like that you were chatting and enjoying each other's company. These tickets are my gift to you. He hit the gas and drove off. Uncle Tyler and I stared at each other in disbelief. I opened the bag impatiently. There were so many scratch-off tickets inside. With a bit of luck, we could win thousands of dollars. Mr. Beast had done us a huge favor. We went to a quiet corner of the park and began scratching the lottery tickets. The first few dozen tickets gave us nothing, but suddenly Uncle Tyler jumped up. $500! I gave him a high five. Then we went back to scratching. I won 2 $10 prizes and then a $100 bonus. Uncle Tyler screamed again. $1,000! Guess your luck hasn't run out after all, I said, letting out a big laugh. I dipped my hand into the bag and fished out another scratch card. The card started with the number 1, but each flick of my wrist seemed to reveal another 0. 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros, 4 zeros. Is it $10,000? I asked myself. 5 zeros? 6 zeros? 7 zeros? It's 10 million. 10 million, I gasped in excitement. Incredulous, Uncle Tyler looked at me. What? 10 million? He said, grabbing the ticket. He lifted up his head. There are 8 zeros here. That's 100 million, Daniel. We won $100 million, he said. That day, thanks to Mr. Beast, we won $100,012,300. We became multi-millionaires overnight. A few days later, Uncle Tyler closed the deal on a lovely new home, and I started thinking about what we could do for our friends at the shelter. When I shared a few ideas with Uncle Tyler, he loved it. The next day, my dad was in for a surprise. I showed up to work at the hotel. I hadn't spoken a word of what had happened to my dad. I barged into his office. He was in a meeting with the supervisors. Dad, you need to see this. Come with me to the reception desk, I said. How many times do I need to tell you you can't call me Dad at the office? What is it? Why do you need me there? He grumbled. Come and see for yourself, I said, and left the room. There were around 50 homeless people in the lobby. When my dad saw them, he started screaming. What is going on here? Who let them in? Get them out! They'll drive away business! Get out now, all of you! The guy at the reception desk said, Sir, they all have reservations, and all the rooms were paid for in cash. There's nothing we can do. I'm getting the rooms ready. How can they have reservations? This is the most expensive hotel in the city. Who's paying for them? My dad asked angrily. The guy at the reception desk looked at his screen. The party's name is under Tyler. No last name, he replied with a shrug. Tyler. Who the heck is Tyler? My dad shouted. Uncle Tyler had been standing among the crowd. Come on, Noah, he said. It's me. Are you telling me you don't recognize your own brother? My dad was shocked. You? How is this possible? What are you doing here? I don't want you in my hotel. Security! Kick this man to the curb, along with the rest of them! Dad was so angry, you could practically hear him grinding his teeth. Uncle Tyler laughed in his face and said, Every room is already booked and paid for over the next few weeks. Now, you can lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business during the off-season, or you can get used to seeing me and my friends a lot more around here. My dad was red with fury. Uncle Tyler kept going. By the way, I've also taken the liberty of buying the building from one of your investors. My partner and I are your new landlords, so you'll be seeing a lot more of me as well. Uncle Tyler was dropping bombs one after the other. I'd never seen my dad so desperate and confused. You bought this building? But he wasn't selling to me. How did you convince him? Who's your partner? He asked. Tyler laughed. You never were much of a people person, Noah. Let's just say I know how to treat the patrons right. Uncle Tyler gestured in my direction. Oh, and I think you know Daniel. He's my partner. My dad turned to me livid. What kind of games are you playing behind my back? How dare you do this to me? I'm going to disown you. You're not my son anymore, he roared. I couldn't forgive my dad for doing what he did to Uncle Tyler. It made me even angrier just hearing him speak. I suggest watching your volume around the landlords. After all, there are strict noise disturbance policies. We could easily have you kicked out, I said. At that moment, I saw the rage in my dad's eyes turn to jealousy. Typical Noah, Uncle Tyler said. From that day on, my dad's life got harder and harder. We were booking 50 rooms for the homeless every day. Regular hotel guests began to leave. We increased the number of our daily bookings to 100 rooms. Before long, my dad's hotel became known as the most luxurious homeless shelter in the world.
I'm Tess. My grandfather's sudden death shocked the whole family. After the funeral, we went to our lawyer's office for the reading of the will. Grandpa had made a video, just as was expected of him. Seeing him in a Dracula costume on the screen made us all laugh. This gesture reflected his sense of humor perfectly. My dear children and grandchildren, I thought I was immortal like Dracula, but if you're watching this video, I'm apparently not. Since I can't take my $20 million to the world beyond this one, I must leave it to you. But don't get too excited. If you want to inherit my fortune, you need to earn it. My dear grandchildren, Tess, Joel, and Kevin, I rented the city's most famous haunted house for you. You will spend a night with the ghosts in the house. Your time will begin at midnight. No internet, phones, or any electronic devices are allowed. The door and the windows of the house will be locked. The entrance door will open twice. First at 3 a.m., then at 5 a.m., and anyone who wants to leave can go. Only the ones that stay until dawn will benefit from my fortune. If all three of you get scared and run, the entire sum will go to charity. Let's see which one of you is the bravest. I wish I were alive to witness this in person. This is ridiculous! Why would he do such a thing? My cousin Joel yelled. His mom, my aunt, said, Joel, honey, normally his money would have been divided into 3 between your 2 uncles and me. But this way we can get more of it. I think this is a great opportunity, and you're way too smart to believe in ghosts. Mom, ghosts are real. There are tons of ghost videos on YouTube, Joel said with a trembling voice. Kevin, who's my uncle's son, laughed. For $20 million, I would live among ghosts in that house for a year. Joel, I'm sure you'll stay with me until the morning, but I'm worried about Tess. I'm sure when the door opens at 3 a.m., she'll run to that house like the wind. Yeah, I'm sure she will, bro, Joel said with a smirk. My mom looked at me affectionately. Honey, I know you don't believe in this ghost nonsense, but still, you don't need to enter this competition if you don't want to. I was so annoyed at my cousins. Mom, I want to do it, but not for the money. I want to see Kevin and Joel run from that house, I responded. I got chills down my spine when we arrived at the haunted house my grandfather rented. The place looked creepy, even if I didn't believe in this kind of stuff. Joel, Kevin, and I walked inside exactly at midnight. When the giant door closed behind us, Joel went pale. God help me, why did I agree to this? He mumbled. Kevin said, Bro, there's nothing to be scared of. We just have to spend 6.5 hours here until sunrise. At that moment, an ear-splitting scream shook the house. We looked up in fear. It was a woman's voice coming from upstairs. Apparently, we weren't alone. I always thought these haunted houses were an urban myth. Was I wrong? Then we began hearing whispers. This time, the sounds were coming from somewhere other than upstairs. We were in the same room with the whisperers. Here! The ghosts are here! Joel screamed frantically, looking around. The worst part is, the whispers were becoming more apparent. Go away! Go! This house is ours! Go away! The ghosts were singing. Joel ran towards the door and began pounding it with all his might. Open the door! Get us out of here! I'm begging you to open the door! He yelled. Kevin tried to calm him down, but Joel had lost control. It's all because of Grandpa. I hate him. I hate my grandfather, he said as he paced around the room. I couldn't keep quiet any longer. We decided to come here. If you're looking for someone to blame, this is on you, I told him. We turned to him when Kevin said, Damn it, this is not the right time. What's going on? Not the right time for what? I asked. I need to go to the bathroom. This always happens when I get stressed. I need to go to the bathroom now, Kevin replied. I said, so go ahead. And he mumbled shyly, I can't see the bathroom. It's probably not a good idea to look for a bathroom in a haunted house by yourself. So I thought you guys said I'd be the first to run from this place. It sounds like you need my help to find a bathroom, I said with a laugh. My cousins and I climbed up the stairs. I showed Kevin the door to what I thought was the bathroom. Thank you, he said, and went in. Joel and I began waiting for him. We were startled when the lights suddenly went off. "What are we gonna do now?" Joel asked. We didn't have a flashlight or any matches with us. Thankfully, we got power back shortly after. As Joel and I looked at one another, we both audibly sighed. My cousin's eyes suddenly got bigger. I didn't get why he was so scared. He was pointing at the walls. I couldn't believe my eyes when I turned to look. The walls were covered with red ink that said, "Get out of our house." The walls had been clean when we arrived. The writings appeared following those few seconds when the lights had been off. Right at that second, we heard a scream from the bathroom. "Kevin, are you okay?" Joel said urgently, but there was no response. "Kevin?" Joel raised his voice. When there was no answer from Kevin for the second time, Joel opened the bathroom door. No one was in there, and the walls said, "Get out of our house." Suddenly, there was a loud noise in the house. It sounded like a gong striking the hour. Joel headed towards the stairs as he screamed, "It's 3! It's 3!" I went downstairs with him. It must indeed be 3 because the door was wide open. "Damn you, Grandpa! Damn you, Grandpa!" Joel kept saying as he ran out the door. He was the first one to run from the house. I, on the other hand, went back upstairs. I had to find Kevin, who was missing, and I had no intention of leaving so soon. I ran up the stairs. I opened and shut the room doors looking for Kevin, but he was nowhere to be found. When I walked into the last room, I noticed an old TV set there. On the screen, something was playing in black and white. When I looked closer, I saw a bed and Kevin lying on it, and an old lady was sitting right next to the bed. I got the chills. "Oh God, what is that?" I mumbled to myself. It was so scary. Kevin was staring at the woman, wild-eyed. I had to find the room Kevin was in, but I'd looked inside every room on this floor. I went downstairs. I began looking through all the rooms here. Finally, I found Kevin in one of them. When he saw me, he said, "Save me. This woman won't let me out," and started crying. Suddenly, there was a flash of lightning that lit up the room. The chair was now empty. The woman had disappeared. Kevin jumped up. He ran to the door. I was right behind him. It was summer, but there was a massive storm. We could hear the wind in every corner of the house. Lightning illuminated everything every time it struck. Kevin pounded on the house's main door and started screaming, "Get me out of here! I want to leave!" Then he looked at me desperately. "Tess, please help me. You can have Grandpa's fortune. Just get me out of here," he began begging me. "You know the door will open at 5. It's almost dawn. You can try to stay for a little longer instead of leaving now," I said to him encouragingly, but he wasn't listening. Kevin's fearful eyes had seen something behind me. When I turned around, I saw Grandpa. He was watching us with a gong in his hand. "Grandpa's ghost! He's here too!" Kevin yelled. Grandpa began hitting the gong. The door of the house opened wide. It looked like it was finally 5. Kevin was relieved when he saw the door open. "Joel and I pretended to love you for your money. Since Tess will get your money, I can speak honestly now. Grandpa, I hate you. I know for a fact that Joel hates you too. I never said this to your face, but at least I'm saying it to your ghost's face now," he said, running outside. The door shut behind him at once. Startled, I turned to my grandfather's ghost, but he wasn't there. Outside, the storm had calmed down. Inside, it was eerily quiet. I sat down on the floor. I began waiting anxiously. I was sleepy now. I tried to resist it, but finally, I dozed off. Tess, Tess. Somebody was calling me. I forced my eyes open. The sun was up. I blinked a few times because the light hurt my eyes. I saw him as my eyes adjusted to the light. My grandpa's ghost was smiling at me, which wasn't scary. He began talking to me in a soft voice. "Congratulations, dear. You're brave. I will set up a new will now, and you will get $10 million. The remaining 10 will be yours when I'm really dead." "When you're really dead?" I said in shock. "Yes, when I'm really dead," he said, and let out a big laugh. At that moment, we heard clapping, and people started walking in. I knew the woman at the front. It was the ghost sitting next to Kevin. "Let me introduce you to the FX team and actors that turned this old place into a haunted house. They are here from Hollywood. Normally, they make scary movies. They made a pretty good show for us. Well, for you anyway," Grandpa explained. "Grandpa, was this all a show?" "No way, but it was also convincing. They made me believe in ghosts," I said to him, adding, "But why did you have to do this?" because I had to see Joel and Kevin for who they are. I organized myself a fake funeral for this. I knew they didn't love me. Thanks to this haunted house, my fortune will go to the only person that deserves it. That's you. I'm over 80 years old. Soon I might have a real funeral, but now Joel and Kevin won't get to have my money," he said and hugged me. We lost Grandpa 2 years after we had this conversation. I bought the haunted house after he passed. I live here with my family now because this house means a lot to me. Each corner I turn to, I remember that fantastic night and the most eccentric person in the world, my grandpa. I'm Maya. One morning, I jumped out of bed as soon as I woke up and ran to the kitchen. My parents and my sister Elsie were having breakfast. I began dancing around the table singing, "I'm so excited! I'm so excited!" My parents were watching me with a smile on their faces. In a mocking tone, Elsie repeated, "I'm so excited! I'm so excited!" Unfortunately, my sister and I haven't gotten along for some time. She never misses a chance to pick a fight with me. I knew that, so I didn't pay her any attention. I was excited that morning for a good reason. I was going to get my SAT results soon. I was going to start applying for college next year, and I had to score high on my SATs to get accepted to a good one. I brought my laptop from my room. My parents and I were waiting with our eyes locked on the screen. My sister kept munching away at her breakfast, seemingly uninterested, but I knew she was just as curious about the results as I was. When the results were announced, it was a huge disappointment. I scored really low. I couldn't keep my tears from flowing. My mom gave me a hug. "Maya, please don't be upset, honey. It's just a test. Go wipe your face. It's not worth getting upset over." My dad was also very supportive. "My sweet girl, believe me, success in school doesn't mean a thing. Don't be sad. You'll do better next time." My sister was listening to us looking shocked. "Mom, Dad, I can't believe this. You both gave me an earful for getting a C in math last week. You told me, you have one job and that's being a student. It's unacceptable that you're getting bad grades. But when it comes to Maya, you act completely differently." She turned to me. "But why am I even surprised? As everyone in this family knows, Maya is your favorite. You love her more than me and you don't even care to hide it," she said, frowning. My mom said, "Elsie, that's not true. You're both our favorites." But my sister flew out of the kitchen without even listening to her. Stroking my hair, my dad said, "Don't listen to your sister, sweetie. Whatever happens, we don't want you to get upset. That's all we care about. This doesn't matter, okay?" Mom tried to cheer me up by saying, "Does anyone want some ice cream? Let's go get a big cone of ice cream for everyone." If I'm honest, Elsie was right. I really was my parents' favorite kid. They give me a break on so many things. I didn't know why they did that. So one day, I decided to find out. After leading with, "I need to talk to you about something really important," I said to them, "Please treat us the same. The way you favor me really upsets Elsie. She acts like I'm her enemy." When Mom said, "Honey, I think you're wrong. We love both of you the same. We're not favoring you," I was surprised. There was clearly something there, but she was trying to hide it. Thankfully, my dad was more honest. "Maya, you're not supposed to get upset in any way. If we treat you differently, we have a good reason for doing so. Let's please not talk about this again, okay?" he said dismissively. My parents didn't let me bring this up again, but I often remembered what my dad had said. If we treat you differently, we have a good reason for doing so. I wondered what he meant by that. What was wrong with my sister? Why did they like her less? I thought about this a lot, but I couldn't think of a reason. My birthday was coming up. Every year, Elsie would throw a fit after my birthday party, so I wanted to warn my parents beforehand. I said to my mom, "Mom, can we please do something simple for my birthday? A small party with family." She wouldn't hear it. "Honey, that's nonsense. You're turning 16. That's a very special age. Sweet 16s are meant to be unforgettable. This year will be your biggest party yet," she said. "Mom, I'm begging you. Elsie didn't speak to me for months after my birthday party last year. Please, let's not do anything that'll upset her," I replied. She shut me up by saying, "Maya, please. You'll regret it if we don't celebrate, and that will upset you. We'll throw a big party for her when she turns 16 too." We were going to have my birthday party in our backyard. My mom and I went shopping and got me an amazing new dress. We stopped at a party store on our way home to buy decorations. When we got home, my parents and I decorated our backyard for the party. Elsie wasn't around. On the day of my party, I went to the hair salon. My dad had rented a limo for me so I could arrive at my party in it. I felt so good in the limo on my way home from the hair salon. I was so happy that my mom didn't listen to me and went ahead with this party. There was a thunder of applause when the limo arrived in front of our house. My mom had invited all my friends to the party, and everyone was there to greet me. The limo driver ran to my side of the car to open my door. As I was getting out, my friends started clapping even louder. It all happened suddenly. I saw my sister in the crowd. She was carrying a small bucket. She started running towards me. Then she emptied the bucket over my head. My hair, my face, my dress was completely covered in eggs. Elsie had cracked dozens of eggs into the bucket and dumped them all over my head. I looked awful. No one was laughing, but I was sure they were just being polite. I knew they would burst out laughing once they got home. I realized some people were taking pictures of me. It was so embarrassing. Suddenly, I fell to the ground and passed out. When I opened my eyes, I was at the hospital. My parents and my sister were by my bedside. Their eyes were swollen from crying. Elsie looked like she had cried the most. When they realized I had woken up, they screamed with joy. I still felt awful. It was as if a truck had hit me. Elsie started crying. Through her tears, she said, "I'm so sorry, Maya. What I did was really awful. I feel so bad. Please forgive me." I know how you must have felt all these years. This was an emotional outburst, and I think I deserved it, I said with a faint smile. I was so scared I was going to lose you. I didn't know you were sick. If I had known, I would have never treated you like that, she said in between sobs. I turned to my parents, surprised. Sick? What does she mean, sick? I asked with great difficulty. My parents were panicking. My dad said, "Elsie is referring to you passing out. You're sick now, but you'll be fine soon," and turned to my sister. "Isn't that what you meant, Elsie?" he asked. Stuttering, she replied, "Right. When I said sick, I meant you passed out." I felt so depleted that I couldn't keep myself awake any longer. I closed my eyes. I fell asleep immediately. The next day, they released me from the hospital. After that, everything was awesome. Elsie completely transformed. My parents kept favoring me over her, but my sister had no problem with it anymore. I thought she must be feeling bad for what she'd done and started treating me really well to make up for it. Then, I woke up in the middle of the night. As I was walking to the bathroom, I remembered this dream that I'd had. I was in a hospital room. I was so scared I was going to lose you. I didn't know that you were sick. If I had known, I would have never treated you like that, Elsie was saying to me. At that moment, I had an epiphany. This wasn't a dream. Elsie had really told me all that, and she panicked afterwards because she wasn't supposed to say it. My dad tried to cover Elsie's mistake. When we had that conversation, I wasn't fully conscious yet. That's why when I first remembered it, I thought it had been a dream. Of course it wasn't. My sister obviously had found out that I was sick, and she had let it slip. But what was my disease? How could I find out? Could I discover something my dad study? I wasn't sure, but it was worth a try. I tiptoed my way to my dad's study. Everyone was asleep, so I could take my time searching the whole room. I searched Dad's desk drawers one by one. There was nothing about me there. My dad also had a big file cabinet. I rummaged in its drawers, but none of those files were about me. My dad was a lawyer, so he had a big bookshelf full of law books. There was nowhere else to search, so I started looking through the books on the shelf. I saw a book titled Living with the Debole Syndrome. It caught my attention because it wasn't a book about law. I picked it up and flipped through its pages. Whoever had read this book had highlighted some places and taken notes in the margins. My heart started racing. This was my dad's handwriting. On one page, he wrote, "Symptom frequently observed in Maya." On another page, he highlighted some sentences and then noted, "We need to protect Maya from these." So what exactly was this Debole syndrome? I turned over the book. When I read the descriptions on the back cover, it all became clear. The Debole syndrome was a rare genetic disease. If someone had been diagnosed with this disease, they had to stay away from stress. Because when they're exposed to a high-stress situation, their body shuts their brain down, just like a computer. And this would cause the person to suddenly pass out and lose consciousness. This was exactly what happened to me when Elsie dumped all those eggs over me. That night, I found out that I was suffering from de Boll syndrome. All this time, Elsie and I had been thinking that our parents were playing favorites, but the truth was different. I wasn't their favorite kid. My parents were trying to protect me from getting stressed. They tried hard to keep me happy because they knew my body would shut my brain down in high stress and upsetting situations. After I found out about my disease, I was both sad and happy. On one hand, I was sad because I was sick and had to struggle with this condition all my life. On the other hand, I was happy because my family wasn't discriminating between their children. There's only one issue left. Should I tell my parents and Elsie that I know about my disease? Would it make the situation better or worse if I told them? I need your help with this. I'd appreciate it if you could write your thoughts in the comments.